Welcome everyone to your October 27th, 2025 online Rotary Club of Ames meeting. Let's go ahead and stand if you can and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to the
allegiance
flag
to the
of
flag
the United
of the
States of
United States of
America
America
and to the
and
republic
to the
for
republic
which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty,
justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you all. While we've got everyone's attention, I've got some sad news. Mary Evans' father, John DeGrado, did end up passing away. Last week we had announced that they had moved him to hospice, and unfortunately he did pass away. So let's keep Mary Evans and their family, and John and all of his family in our thoughts and prayers. If anyone has anyone else right now, please take a moment and let's think about them. Okay, thank you, everyone. Go ahead and be seated here. We want to thank and congratulate Glenn Ripke for appointing to the board of directors through the June 2026. Thank you for filling that spot, Glenn. Appreciate that very much. Well deserved, and we'll have Glenn on our board through, like I said, June 2026. So thank you, Glenn, for your service. World Polio Day was a success. Thank you, everyone. We raised over 6,000 in our pennies for polio drive. So thank you, everyone, for contributing. Great effort. And again, going for a great cause. Hopefully, we begin over the years to, I know this has been a long time coming, but hopefully eventually we'll have a major celebration in eradicating polio for good. So thank you, everyone, for donating. Reminder that next Monday, the 3rd, Norland, our district governor, Norland Inky, will be at Della Viti for a Rotary Foundation reception. That'll start at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, program at 6:45. Sure, doors would open a little earlier than that, but please join us for some fellowship, appetizers, a brief program. Probably not very brief if Norland's giving it, but at least the program and and an update on the annual fund endowment and Polio Plus. So we are one of the clubs that he has asked to quote unquote host. So really what that means is just attendance. If we can get as many people there as we can, great. And we'll do a little greeting at the door and things of that nature. But us in the morning club were asked to do that. Possibly even another club. I can't remember. But yeah, this next Monday. We actually prior to last week had started talking about a Rotary Cares Committee, and we put that into action this week with Mary Evans' father passing. This is just more of an idea or a goodwill for the Rotary Club and its family to just know that every member is cared about, and what faces them in life might be some struggles, might be injuries or illness. How do we ensure they're taken care of? And creating this Rotary Cares Committee has begun to kind of monitor that or just help with that, even if it's just do you need a ride into Rotary? Or in the case of this last week, having a loved one pass away and getting a card off to them in response from the club itself. And I believe it's a great effort. I'm not sure how many we have on the committee right now. I know Park has kind of taken a role in that, but if we can get a few people just sending those sympathy cards, get well, it's one of those things that I think is a great effort for all of us. So 2 ways you can participate. It's a team effort, of course, but you can volunteer to serve. We're looking for a small group of compassionate members to help in that regard. You can send an email to Rotary Club of Ames at Gmail, or you can share in the need for suggestions. Do you know a member who could use a card or a call? or a word of encouragement, possibly even a situation of just getting a ride to the club meetings in person, um, any of that. So you can again email over to Rotary Club of Ames at Gmail. Allison will get that and we'll try to coordinate that. So, um, yeah, any questions from the group on the Rotary Cares Committee? Thank you for those that have volunteered already. Um, if you'd like to know how to make a digital marketing impact for your small business owners worldwide, here's a well, it's a 30-minute study that they're doing at Iowa State University to gain insight on sustainability driven pitches that boost the livelihood and creation. You can evaluate, the folks will evaluate that. So they're looking for volunteers. If you are interested, please contact, oh, I meant to look this name up. Priyanka with Iowa State. We've got her email address there. You can reach out directly. And again, the study takes no longer than 30 minutes and would help them out a tremendous amount to get as many people involved as possible. Club. So next week we will be in person. We'll have Clayton Mooney with the from farm kid to tech entrepreneur in person at the club, at the Plex, sorry, next Monday, the 3rd. And again, that evening, then we will also have that social gathering at Delavidi. Online on the 10th, we'll have Matt O'Neill, Farming and Conservation Under the Sun. That'll be an online meeting on the 10th. And then back to the Plex for the club luncheon, where we will have a foundation update from Karen Sebdi. So look forward to seeing everyone at those events. And I think I'll turn it over to Allison to introduce our speaker, Justin Clausen, for today. Allison, go ahead and introduce Justin.
All right. Well, I have to give Justin a great big thank you. We had a little issue with our speaker. Matt had to be out of town at the last minute, and so we got Justin, and he was planning to speak to us in November, but we moved him up. So Justin Clausen is the Public Works Director for the City of Ames, and he was promoted to that position in February. Prior to this, he served as operations manager and construction supervisor for the city for the past 14 years. And before that, he spent 10 years in private industry. He was building roads and bridges all across Iowa. He has a construction engineering degree from Iowa State University. So please welcome Justin Clausen today.
Thank you, Allison.
Yes.
Yeah, so this presentation you'll have today is about the new resource recovery and recycling campus. And I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen.
Try again now.
All right, let me try one more time. Here we go. Okay, so now it's going to ask me which screen. Great. I've got too many screens over here. Then I will start the presentation. And now I want to share a different screen probably. Let's see here. You guys are seeing.
We're seeing a black screen. There we go.
Yep, just a second. I think I'll get the right one here. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So.
And
sorry, technology is great when it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're seeing your Zoom quit unexpectedly a message, and you're frozen. Oh, shoot.
Okay. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm back now.
We see the message that says Zoom quit unexpectedly. Do you see that on your screen? Oh, now we see your phone.
Okay. So do you have me now?
We can hear you, but we see your phone screen.
Okay, let's try this one more time here. I got to get out of this. Let's see. Okay, so now do you have me, Allison? I can see you now. Nothing. I'm gonna hang up and call right back. I
Okay.
apologize.
Nope, no worries.
I don't see Kanjaro on.
Uh, he was on. However, I think you're right. We've lost him as well. I see John Sherholtz, who we haven't seen for a while. Hello, John.
Oh,
Hi.
You might stop eating.
See if we get him back here.
I see him back there. Justin's
All right, there we
muted.
go. Now do you have me?
Now we got you.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time to see if I can make this presentation to work. Otherwise, you'll just listen to me talk about it, which is not near as fun, I promise. Okay, I want to share this screen
Okay.
and start a slideshow on that screen.
Yay.
Okay, let's
Looks
try
good.
this. Okay, so are you seeing a garbage truck throwing trash around? Perfect. Okay, so if you're in the city of Ames or in Story County, what we do right now is we take your waste, your garbage, and we produce this, which is obviously electricity, by doing this. We incinerate it, is what happens to make waste to energy here within the city of Ames. But that's going to be ending. We're moving towards a new way of processing waste here within the city. And really, to get to there, I want to take you a step back to let you know how we got into the waste to energy business to begin with, and that'll kind of lead you into how we made decisions that we made to move forward. So 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we had a landfill here in Ames. And during that time, the landfill is filling up. We have waste that's coming in, waste that's being put into the landfill. As things are getting full, we have some really, really incredibly intelligent staff here at the city that says, what if there's a better way of doing things? Within the city, we also have a municipal power plant. And during that time, we ran into, in the 70s, what was known as the energy crisis, when a lot of the oil prices in the world really kind of went up. And you can see on this graph here how much oil we're importing in the 70s. And so individual by the name of Arnold Chantlin really had some forethought and said, what if there's another way for us to fuel our power plant to reduce the amount of energy that is needed to produce energy for the community using something that we already have? So he did a lot of study on places outside of the United States that had looked into waste to energy. And so this really came through as a way he saw to move this forward for us. And again, if you look at the price of oil during that time, as this graph shows here, you can see in the 1970s, we had pretty dramatic spikes. So not only was it trying to be more environmentally conscious of what we do with our waste as a resource, but also trying to be smart with it in a fiscal standpoint. So Arnold Chantlin put together a proposal to the city council. 1974, the council approved the construction of the current resource recovery center that you see right now on Center Drive here in Ames. Cost $5.5 million in general obligation bonds, and that's worth about $36 million in today's dollars. And these dollar amounts will be more important later on here as I get through the presentation. You see what some of the future costs of this might look like as we move forward. But it took about a year and a half to construct, and it opened in August of 1975. We just celebrated our 50th year producing waste to energy here in Ames. And these pictures don't do it justice. It's hard to find really good quality pictures from the 70s. that look really good. But we've got a couple here that you can kind of see a little bit of grainy, but this is the process area in the backside of resource recovery. Here's a better one that I took a photo of with my phone. Really talks about the sort of things that happen behind the scenes. If you've ever been to the facility and dumped waste, these are the sort of things you don't see go on behind there. There's a really big process that goes to process all of our waste here within the community. But ultimately, it comes out to a facility that looks a little bit like this on the outside, a nice pre-engineered metal building. You know, we try to landscape it, make it look pretty. It's not something everyone wants to go to talk about waste and garbage during the day, but it is a necessary thing that we have as a society that we need to take care of. But what happens at this facility is we take municipal solid waste, and we call that MSW, and we bring it to our tipping floor. And this also includes all of our partner agencies. It includes Iowa State University, includes Story County, all the surrounding communities within Story County unincorporated areas as well. And they all bring their waste to resource recovery. We process that waste. We take out recoverable metals, so ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals. We get those recovered. Anything that's heavy and non-combustible drops out of the process. So if you happen to put rocks in your garbage container, for example, those would not make great fuel for the power plants. But through all this process and screening, they would fall out of the process there and would be put into a separate dumpster to be taken away to the landfill. But ultimately, all of it's put together and it's pneumatically piped by air to a bin ready for combustion at the power plant. And if you look at that from the standpoint of a flow chart, what it looks like, there's shredders, there's screens, there's magnets, there's what's called eddy current systems that induce an electrical and magnetic field that move non-ferrous metals around. There's something called an air knife that takes this material, makes it all fluffy, and puts it up into the air, and it gets put into the tube that goes over to the power plant. So all this happens behind the scenes, and it's a really, really neat way of doing stuff. This picture here on the bottom left, you see kind of the yellowish orange building. That is the what we call the RDF bin. That's where refuse derived fuels goes before it's brought into the power plant. The power plant's the big facility there on the right. So this is how we take your waste, turn it into energy within this community, and essentially avoid some of the landfilling that goes on with it. Annually, we take in about 54,000 tons of municipal solid waste, and that's a lot of material. Out of that, we can take roughly half of it and turn that into fuel. So 27,000 tons is turned into RDF that is burnt in the power plant. The rest of that is taken to the landfill that's unusable. But some of the other stuff that we do, we take about 1,400 tons of metals during the year, 270 tons of glass, get about 15 tons of household hazardous waste. That's things like your lithium ion batteries, chemicals, stuff like that, that we don't want in the waste system that's brought to us and sorted that way. Also, if you're familiar with our Rummage Rampage event that we've had for the past 9 years, we can get between 65 and 75 tons of refuse out of the landfill and have it be reused through that program. So all that goes to reduce what we send to the landfill and also power our power plant at the same time. So in order to understand a little bit how this works, we also need to talk about our power plant and what's going on there. So at the power plant, there are two main ways that we produce energy. There's the first boiler called Unit 7. That was 33 megawatts installed in 1967 at a cost of $7.5 million, which is $72 million today. And Unit 8, 65 megawatts from 1982, that's $156 million today. So remember, when these were put in, these were coal-fired units. Coal was the fuel source of the day when they were installed. These units are said to have an expected lifespan of about 40 years. So if you look at Unit 7, 40 years was 2007. Here we are, 2025. So Unit 7 has nearly 60 years on it. That's a testament to the staff at the power plant and the staff there maintaining those units. And Unit 8 is approaching that 40-year lifespan. And we'll get into that a little bit more here as we talk about what we're doing next and why those numbers are important. But if you have been in the community for a while, you may remember in 2016, we made a conversion. We no longer use coal in our power plant. We are a natural gas power plant. And some of those decisions that happened in 2016 were really revolving around regulations that were coming. There was a real push within the federal government to phase out phase out coal-fired power plants. There's permitting requirements that were coming along with that had to deal with emissions as well, to where if we were to continue to utilize coal, we had to have upgraded emission standards. And when you start looking at the cost of upgrading those emissions in the scrubbers and our stacks and that sort of stuff versus the cost of transitioning to natural gas, it was much more cost effective to convert to natural gas during that time. So that was a decision that was made about 10 years ago to get out of the coal business and let's get into natural gas burning. Now, during that time frame, there was something going on in the world as well. There was a dramatic increase in the amount of plastics in our waste stream. And so when we look at plastics from the year 2000 on this graph, and it only goes through 2020, but the plastic is more than doubled. So we have more than twice the amount of plastic in our waste stream than we had 25 years ago. And why that's important is this graph here shows what our system in Ames looks like. This was done in 2018. This is what the waste composition within the city of Ames is. And it's important to point out that 16% of the material in our system is plastic. So that's roughly 8,000 tons of the stuff that comes through our power plant and our waste to energy system is plastics. And that's important because I'll take you back. Remember what we're doing here in Ames. We take plastic and we basically burn it. And so while that is a good way of reducing the volume and getting rid of things, it's doing certain things inside our power plant that were unintended and kind of unanticipated. So this little slide here really shows what we're doing is we are producing hydrochloric acid inside of our boilers. When those plastics are burned at temperatures of 800 some degrees, they produce hydrochloric acid. And that hydrochloric acid is incredibly caustic and incredibly corrosive to the power plant itself. And so when we were burning coal, the coal had a tendency to burn a little bit drier. There's less moisture in coal, and it left probably what we realized is a protective coating on some of these interior components within the power plant. And because of that, we didn't experience as much challenges with the hydrochloric acid. But when we went to natural gas, we saw a dramatic increase. And what that leads to is your boiler tubes end up getting holes in them. And so when they get holes, they lose the ability to hold their pressure. We lose the ability to make energy during that time. And so my friends at the power plant invite me over. They say, Justin, we really want to show you what it looks like inside of there. And I'm the kind of guy that says, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. This is really neat. I want to see what this looks like. And this hole you see in front of you, this is what the power plant guys didn't tell me. They take me there and they make me sign a log that says I'm entering the boiler basically, and they'll make sure I get out of it and they won't fire it up while I'm in there. And that's kind of really hard, makes you feel really good as you go there. They take you 130 feet up in the air and they show you this hole. And if you're a claustrophobic, you do not want to go in here. This thing is maybe 17 inches wide. And so you'll see a guy like me, I'm kind of tall and skinny, but at least I can fit. They got a nice picture of me going inside of here. But there is not a lot of room. And thankfully they hung some lights and some catwalks for us to walk on, but it's incredibly dark too. What you end up seeing is these are the boiler tubes. They are anywhere from 40 to 60 feet tall. This is in a portion called the superheat section of the boiler. This is the hottest area of the boiler, so it makes the best steam. But we're seeing corrosion in these. And these tubes they're about an inch apart. They're 3 to 4 inches in diameter, about the diameter of a soda can. And they're maybe an inch apart in there. And so they're super close by. And what happens is these holes get in them. And so this hydrochloric acid eats away at this. Now you can coat these boiler tubes with a nickel alloy called Inconel that can help, but even with our Inconel coating that we've done in there, we still continue to have issues with this. So we're kind of at a crossroads. So in 2019, the power plant was down for over 270 days. So during those 270 days, we produced very little refuse-derived fuel. All of our waste went straight to the landfill. We replaced all the boiler tubes in Unit 8, the newer unit, And so it was kind of a challenge for us. I'm kind of skipping around on the slide here, but Boone County Landfill is our partner in this. They take our waste when we're not, anything that's rejected out of the process. And when they take that waste, and we basically say we're no longer burning for the next 270 days, it causes huge problems for them. So they take on a much larger portion of that, and it's really hard to double their volume when that happens. In 2022, we did a study on the future of waste to energy to really look at how can we make make this process easier. How can we do better on this? And additionally, our agreement with Boone County was expiring in 2025. So we had some challenges moving into there. Here's a look at how much RDF we produce over the last 20 years approximately. As you can see, in the 2005 to 2000, maybe 10 to 13 range, we're averaging around 30 to 35,000 tons of RDF. But we were on a steady decline before we changed to natural gas in 2015, 2016, that range. You can see we dropped down to our bottom in 2019. We've kind of climbed back up, but we've never really got back up into that 30,000 ton range. And that's a number of reasons for that. There's some reliability challenges, and there's also, we start talking about the age of these boilers. As we continue to do maintenance on them, they're just not the same as they were when they were new or when they were much earlier in their lifespan. So we're starting to see some challenges from that. So again, as I said, we're at a crossroads. We got to figure out what we're doing next. So this 2022 study really looked at what else can we do? Can we put in new boilers? Do we take out the old ones and put in new ones? Basically get rid of the old and put in the new. Could we do just what we call an RDF boiler only? So instead of the boilers that were taking care of all of the power plant energy that was necessary and the waste, can we just separate those two? Can we go to a mass burn facility? So this is where we have some requirements from the DNR that says we can burn 90% natural gas to 10% RDF. So every ton of RDF, we have to put 90% more natural gas in there. So it starts making it difficult as we start looking at a mass burn facility. You can do fewer numbers in those, but that requires a whole different amount of permitting and that sort of stuff. We looked at steam recovery from this facility, saying, could we work with industry to really push steam to someone else? In every one of these solutions, there were capital costs of well over $100 million, into the $200+ million. And so we have to make a decision here to say what's fiscally responsible for all of our residents, for everyone that we serve and what we do. What makes the most sense for us to continue to not only produce energy, but also take care of the waste for the facility. So the decisions that we made were really based on the age of the equipment of the power plant. As I said, we've got a boiler that's approaching 60 years old now. We've got another one at 40 years. They're at the end of life. That reliability has been a big challenge for us, where we've had our boilers be up for a number of days and then be down for months at a time, because once the boiler tubes go down, it takes at least a day to allow the boiler to cool down. Then we've got to go in there and investigate what's going on. We've got to make the repairs. You got to order the materials, make the repairs, warm it back up. There's just lots of things that go into that power plant. Natural gas pricing is not what it used to be. It's very up and down anymore. We can buy energy much cheaper than we can produce it now. So as we have that ability to do that, it starts making fewer sense to burn garbage as a replacement for that. We also have climate action planning here within the City of Ames. One of the biggest carbon outputs that we have is our power plant in its current configuration. So when we start looking at that, does it make sense to say we're going to continue down this path if we have climate action goals that say we're trying to reduce our carbon output? Regulatory requirements, any change we make in the power plant or any change we make at the resource recovery facility brings in the new requirements of the day. So as we do that, there's usually more that goes on. There's more that we have to take care of during that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the landfill partners, Boone County Landfill was really concerned about the amount of airspace we were taking up in Boone County. They really want to reserve that for their residents and for those that are taking care of it from their standpoint, from the Boone County Board of Supervisors. So all that put together, in June of 2024, City Council made a decision that we're going to move away from waste to energy. After 50 years, we're going to try something new. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct a new transfer station. We're going to collect that MSW, the municipal solid waste. We're going to bring it onto our tipping floor. We're going to start curbside recycling. and all of it's going to be processed there and taken to a landfill. At which point we will have that be the final disposition rather than incinerating it in the power plant. So we had a financial model and a conceptual design work done. We purchased 9.5 acres along Friel Drive in this here in the city of Ames. And there's going to be a tipping fee increase. So this cost that you're going to pay to your waste hauler, it's going to be a couple more dollars a month probably. It's going to be passed along to the customer because the tipping fee's got to increase due to the capital needed to build the new facility, due to the operations of that facility. We've got to haul it, about 74 miles to get rid of it. And then finally, we've got the landfill fees over at Carroll County where it's going to end up to dump it there. So this new facility, this picture you see on your screen, this is a rapidly changing design. So this design was pretty close about 2 weeks ago when I had this presentation put together, but it's even tweaked a little bit more now. So what you see now may not be the final output, but we're in the middle of design right now. And this is along Friel Drive. North would be to the left on the screen, and we've got a tipping floor in the area. We're going to bring commercial haulers in there. They're going to dump material. We've got a scale house. We're going to continue to have the community drop-off recycling. It's going to be in a separated area, a little more ease of use than if you've been to the existing recycling area right now in the corner of resource recovery. It's really just kind of been put into a place where we had a little bit of extra room. This will be a lot more user-friendly there. We continue to want to utilize our education and that sort of stuff that we do in the facility. We get a lot of tour groups, a lot of students that want to come and see how we take care of waste and what we're doing. So we're going to continue all of that. But ultimately, we're going to process the material and it's going to go away on transfer trucks. Here's a little bit closer look. North is now up in this screen, and this layout has changed even from this slide. We're going to still have shredders and conveyors. We're still going to process material in the facility, just like we have now. We're going to remove the metals. That sort of stuff is still important to do because every ton we keep out of the landfill is important. Every ton that we can process, that we can make it easier to compact when it gets there is important. Everything we can do to minimize what goes into there is what's important to us. So we want to continue to be that leader in how we process and handle waste here in Story County and really nationwide. So where we're at is we're designing right now. And as I said, those images you saw are changing. We're going to be planning to bid in early 2026, construction starting probably in April of 2026 and probably taking about 12 months. We hope to have the facility open in early spring of 2027. We're estimating about $17 million to get all of this sort of stuff done. And that includes land, that includes equipment, design, construction, all those sort of things that go into a big construction project. But as I mentioned earlier, the important thing to remember is that we're continuing to process that municipal solid waste. And we think that's important because we're good at that. We've done that for 50 years. We've got those processes worked out. We're one of the few places in the state that actually do it like that, and we want to continue to offer that service and continue to do that. We're going to have new transfer trailers and trucks, so we're going to have new rolling stock that gets out there because we're going to have to take this to Carroll County to dump it. We talk to a lot of different landfill communities, or not communities, but landfills, to try to find a place for us to be the final disposition for our municipal solid waste. And Carroll County was the one that really had the same goals that we had in mind, same sustainability goals, and were willing to work with us and take it. So we really worked closely with them to get a partnership, and we're really excited about kicking that off here. And then we're also looking at extending our partnerships with our Story County communities. As I mentioned earlier, we take the waste from all of rural Story County, all the smaller communities within Story County, Iowa State universities. And so we've drafted new partnership agreements with them, and we've sent those out to the communities for review and ask questions on how that should grow and what it should look like. So we're going to continue to offer that to those other communities if they'd like to continue with this process. But here's one of the big parts that's new for us. So if you remember, curbside recycling. We've never done recycling in this community. Recycling has always been done here with the little dumpster that's floating down the river. We've always done it. Our landfill diversion, just being able to keep it out of the waste stream by incinerating. We could take close to half of the material that came in and say it's not going to the landfill. We're not going to be able to do that anymore. So we're going to implement curbside recycling here within the community. Now, I was hoping that my presentation would be a little bit later and I have more information for you. But what I can tell you right now is that we had a community survey. I hope all of you were able to take it. We asked, I think there were 13 or 14 questions on there about curbside recycling. How could we present it to the community? What are they looking for? How could we make sure we're meeting all the goals that everyone needs? We got over 1,500 responses, which in a survey like this is an incredible amount of responses. 92% of people said that they would participate. Some of the barriers that they indicated are obviously cost. No one wants to pay more for additional services. We totally get that. So they were concerned about cost. They were concerned about where am I going to put this extra cart in my garage? I have that concern. Like, I don't know where it's going to fit for me either. So I get it. And they want to know what could be recycled. Like, what are we going to be able to put in the recycling bins? And we fully recognize there's an education and marketing campaign that needs to go hand in hand with this. And their support for maintaining a central drop-off site there at the facility, which we plan to do as well. We also have plans to take this back to City Council here, probably at the end of November, to get some direction moving forward, so we can begin the RFP process. Ultimately, what it would look like within the City of Ames is you would have an extra container at your curbside. You would be able to throw away paper, plastics, ones and twos, which are anything with a screw off top, cardboard, metals. We will even take glass in it, so you no longer have to separate glass and take it to Fairway or Hy-Vee or any of the other facilities there. You can put that in the same curbside container, and we'd plan to pick that up every other week. The city would control that RFP, so we would know what company's taking it. We can control where it goes to ensure it's getting recycled, and all that sort of stuff. So those details are going to be worked out with City Council in the coming months, but ultimately we think that could kick off as early as July, maybe August of 2026. Finally, some last components of this facility is we're going to take yard waste there. If you're familiar, there's a separate spot for yard waste. If you've been to the yard waste site on Friel Drive here within the community, it's the exact location that we're going to build the new transfer facility. So we're going to be looking at taking a yard waste from the community there as well. And composting is something that we heard a lot about and something that we really want to help get into as well, whether it be food waste or whether it be organic waste that way. The challenge is right now, that's going to be kind of the next phase of the project. We need to get the municipal solid waste going first before we really work into that composting phase of it. So with that, there's a lot of information we threw at you there. But that's what's happening with waste in our community. I'll open it up to whatever questions you have. And I'm sure there's things that I didn't cover that if you have questions, I'd love to be able to try to fill them in for you. But know that this is an ongoing process. We're building this as we go along. And so what I say right now might change. So don't hold me too much to it, because we're still in the process of developing some of that.
Great, Justin. There's the chat. Everybody can put something in the chat if you'd like for questions. I've got a question for you, Justin. So you mentioned the curbside could start as soon as this summer, July, August of 2026. Does that mean the City of Ames folks will start to see a change in their bill as soon as then, or how does that factor in?
Yeah, so those are all great questions. So when it does start, obviously, yes, you would have the bill at that point in time. We expect that the monthly charge for the recycling should be somewhere between $6 and $8 per month. And it could be more, it could be a little bit less than that. We just aren't sure because we haven't got the pricing from the vendors yet. But I think that the important thing to know is that we need direction from City Council to do that first. So as we get going with that, that's when a lot of this campaign will start of people saying, hey, here's what's coming, here's what to look for. So yes, that would start maybe, like I say, this summer. If council gives us that direction, we would start moving towards that.
Excellent. Thank you. There's some questions in the chat.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull them up for you too here. Okay, so what is the relative cost in 3 to 20 years for solar and wind versus natural gas for Ames? Oh, that's a great question. I don't know if I'm the guy to answer that. When it comes to the power plant cost, what I can tell you is maybe I'll start with this. Um, so the way the power plant works is we are part of a larger consortium called MISO, mid it's a mid-con, I can't remember what it stands for, but we're a consortium of energy producers. And because we claim that we can produce X amount of energy, we can buy energy on the market for significantly less than what it costs us to produce it. So part of that is in relation to solar and wind energy, some of those energies that are a little more cheaper to produce, though maybe not as reliable. And when I say reliable, I'm talking, we don't produce solar energy at night, so there has to be that that balance there. But it costs us probably half as much to buy it than what we can produce it. So I don't have the exact cost on that, but I know that's kind of what our power plant folks have told me, is that they can buy it for half the price of what they can produce it right now. And so when we talk about being fiscally responsible, not only from the municipal solid waste side, but from the power plant and electricity side, is our costs should be able to go down, because right now we run the power plant in order to take care of refuse. And if we don't have to do that anymore, the power plant will run significantly less, and cost of energy should be cheaper. So there's a question on multiple refuse collectors. So yes, so right now the city has what's called open collection. So you as a resident can hire any one of the licensed haulers within the city of Ames to pick up your garbage. Because of that, we have, I think there's 9 licensed garbage haulers within the city. So there was conversation during that 2022 timeframe when they were looking at waste to energy options, of saying, should we consolidate that? Should there be 1? Should there be 2? Should the city take care of it? There's a lot of different varying viewpoints on that. What we've said right now is that that's a hurdle we're not going to tackle during this during this part of it. So we're going to keep with the multiple haulers for now, and we're not going to be changing any of that. Now, as we get into this transfer station, we get that built, we get things put together. I think there's some appetite from the city council to review that again. So that may come back up when the time is right, once we kind of get this new operation on the ground and rolling. Next question I see is, what will happen to the current facility? We haven't landed on that yet. So we anticipate that the current facility, we're going to reuse a little bit of the equipment inside of it. There's like our electromagnetic drum that pulls out ferrous metal. We're going to reuse that out of the facility. So we'll probably shut the doors on that sometime in early spring to summer of 2027. And there's some desire from the city council to maybe see that area redeveloped. There's also desire from our electric utility to maybe utilize the facility for some of the things that they've got going on as well. That might be a good synergy that way. So we don't have a final answer on what it's going to look like. We want to reuse it as best we can. Obviously, it'll cost a lot of money to completely tear it down. We're trying to be cognizant of those costs and make sure we're thinking through everything before we get down that path. Okay, so one central recycling location. So the question is, will we have a few locations throughout the city for those who want to take items? So the plan is at the Resource Recovery Recycling campus, we would have that place to take any of your sorted recyclables. So if you have a bunch of cardboard, you can take that down there, paper, metals, all that sort of stuff. What we plan right now to have across the community is those glass containers you see right now. We will likely replace those with cardboard containers. I think right now we're going to start with a cardboard. We've seen some tremendous growth in our cardboard recycling. Cardboard is a great commodity for us. You can actually make some money recycling cardboard. So we see that as being a great way to start, but I think we will pay attention to what does the community need? If the community says, I need more accessible options closer to me in other parts of town, we would certainly look at. The challenge with some of that is we need to make sure it doesn't get contaminated. If we have a commingled recycling bin where you can throw any of those things that we say we take in the curbside, many times that also means it gets garbage in it. It gets other stuff that we don't want in there. And what that does for us is then it kind of takes what we get for a rebate from our recycling and it really drops it down. Or in the worst case scenario, we can't actually take it to a recycling facility and it just has to turn into garbage. So we're going to pay attention to that as we get into this. This is something, the neat part is this is something that we haven't done in this community. But there are many communities across the United States, across Iowa even, that have successfully implemented this curbside recycling, that have successfully done recycling within their communities. So we're building off their best practices and their successes. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel here necessarily. We can really build upon what's been successful for them. And I think there's been a lot of appetite from the community to do this, and we're happy to bring that to them and make it successful. Here's a question: were alternative generating innovations considered? As I read about a number with our size production possibilities. I'm assuming you're talking about ways to generate electricity. So the challenge that we had was really it comes into a capital cost standpoint. That's where we started getting into those hundreds of millions of dollars to build this facility versus the 17 million we're thinking this one's going to cost right now. Adding another zero to the end of those was really a challenge to make it cost effective to be able to have a tipping fee that someone could pay there that wasn't $500 a ton, which is not affordable. When we start looking at that, then we would have to, in order to make that tipping fee be representative of what would be a more reasonable cost, we'd have to subsidize it some way. And we're trying not to do that. We're trying to make the facility pay for itself. It turns into a little bit more of a user fee. We really want people to think about what they're throwing out. And that's why recycling is important, because recycling will be cheaper than garbage in this new facility. So it turns into kind of a pay as you throw. The more garbage you throw out, the higher your fee will be because your tipping fee's higher, but recycling would be cheaper than that. So we're really trying to change the consumer and customer behavior. And it's kind of what drives us to think about starting this recycling early, as we can get people to think about it before we all have to do all the transferring, is really thinking about how can we do that in advance. Let's see. Next question is construction materials. Can we tip those at the new facility? So we plan to allow what we call light construction and demolition material. So we're not going to be able to take everything from the home builders, all the waste that is generated there. But if you're a homeowner and you're doing some work in your house and you've got some 2x4s and maybe some sheetrock and stuff like that. In the past, we have said, nope, we can't take that here. You've got to go to Boone County. Now we're saying that we can probably take that. We can take that material, process it, and get it over to the landfill. We'll be able to handle that a little bit better. It's a lot less wear and tear on our processing system now, because in order to make refuse-derived fuel, we really had to make that stuff really light and fluffy. And since we're no longer doing that, the amount of processing we have to do is much less. So we think we can take some of the smaller, what I call light construction and demolition loads at the new facility. Next question is, did the city consider selling or closing the power plant and becoming part of a larger system with bigger generating units? I believe there has been conversation about that, but I don't know that it went much farther than just the conversation level. I think those conversations happened. I know I was not part of them, but I don't know that there was much of a financial sense that it made at that point in time to do that. So while that may not be the answer that I think is maybe 100% accurate, I know there were discussions, but I don't think it's something that's on the plate right now. So those are the, yeah, go ahead. That's questions in the chat. So,
Yep. Thank you, Justin. It looks like we've got all our questions answered there. Really, really appreciate you walking through that with us today and giving us information on the resource recovery direction for the community. Yeah, and I'm sure if anyone has any questions that come up, we could always direct them your way. And yeah,
Yes, please do. Please do. If you have questions, if you can get on the city's website, you can find my name and address there. If you want to call here at the Public Works office, we'll get you to the right people. We're more than happy to answer questions and try to provide guidance and all that sort of stuff. We're here to serve, and so if we can do that, we're happy to do so.
awesome. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
On the call today, we also have Kanjaro from Sami in Tanzania. Wanted to just give you a minute to say hi to everyone, see if you had any comments you'd like to make. Thank you for joining us today. You may not have heard me.
Hey, Gajiro, can you unmute?
Maybe I could message him.
He seems to be talking.
Oh. Well, we'll see if we can get a hold of him here and give him a moment to talk.
Gajiro, can you unmute and talk?
Jiro, you're using your phone. Can you unmute your phone?
Technology. Well, we'll give it a minute here and see. I sent a message as well, private message. Maybe he'll see it. Well,
Nope.
maybe not today. So don't want to cut him off if he can. Certainly invite him back for future. Even our in-person, he could join. And I'm sure we could probably get him pulled up if he had some comments he'd like to make next week even. Yeah. Well, shoot. We'll try that again sometime. Yeah, we'll go ahead and close out here then. Join me in the things that we say and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will
Well-
it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, everyone. Have a great week, and hopefully we can get Najaro the next time. So thank you very much. Thanks again, Justin.
You're welcome. Thank you.